our community, and this is one that we've tried to address so many times in the last, 4 years, almost 5 years here on Kababayan LA. We are now the largest Asian group in Southern California. We've overtaken the Chinese, but how come we are still largely invisible in the mainstream landscape? And once again, we're going to attempt to try to answer that question and give solutions perhaps today on Kababayan LA with Ben Nate. Hello and welcome to Kababayan LA.
Hello, Janelle. Hello.
Ben is with APA-LP Fil-Vote, and Fil-Vote is a group that wants Filipino voters to come out and vote, because they say, Ben, numbers are nothing unless we're able to translate that to power.
Yes.
And how do we do that?
Well, first off, there's a big issue in our community. It's not because of lack of population. It's because of lack of political infrastructure. And in our community, we have the resources. We have, the wealth. We have the manpower. But we haven't translated that into political
Why do you think that is? Is it something that has to do with our culture as Filipinos? Is it because of our notion that politics is dirty coming from the Philippines? Because we've seen other Asian ethnic groups that are doing that. The Chinese. Can you compare us with that? How do we compare?
Well, for instance, and a lot of it has to do with that. For instance, the Hmong population, within 15 years, they've elected a city council member in the Central Valley. And in our community, we have yet to get a statewide or a statewide assembly member or senator, and also citywide within the city of LA as well.
So do you think we're just not growing, or we're growing very, very slowly? Because we have people like Mona Pascual.
Yes.
We have Judge Cantil Sakawe, but very little, right?
Yes, and I think it's a lack of a rallying cry. Hey, when are we going to get our first assembly member elected? When are we going to get that first citywide elected official? I totally challenge our young people to get involved, volunteer on a campaign, donate. If you have parents or you have the means to donate to political campaigns or political elected officials that you would like to stay in office, to go ahead and donate.
So then if we go down, if we try to dig deeper, you're saying, youth, you should volunteer, blah, blah, blah. We're not even supposed to be, we don't really need as much as to encourage them, we don't need to exert that much effort into encouraging them to volunteer if they have the initiative to volunteer.
Sure.
How do we instill that initiative in them?
Sure.
Do we start in the family unit?
Yeah, starting in the family unit, just knowing that, politics is not a dirty word. Public service is very respectful. In our communities, we have a great many doctors and nurses, a great many accountants, engineers. There's relative wealth in our community. And donating to campaigns doesn't mean, hey, you know what? They're buying my vote or I'm buying his vote. You want to see people that are like-minded, individuals who are great, who are educated, into public, and push them into public service.
So that's one step, changing the perception that politics is dirty, coming from our experiences in the Philippines. But then also at the same time, because we're an immigrant population, don't you think it's difficult also because when people come here from the Philippines, they basically uproot themselves from there and try to reestablish their lives here. That we're so busy with our own individual goals to be met that we don't have time for community. What do you say about that?
That's a great point. That's a totally great point. I think in our community, one thing that is lacking is saying, hey, you know what? We're here together. We're in it as a group. We're here as Filipino Americans, as you said, almost the largest, Asian subgroup, and we want to see our community grow. Not just, in wealth, not just in education, but also in the political arena.
And not just individually. I mean, your family is doing well, you have businesses all over, and you've made it here. But then at the same time, another problem, or maybe it's not really a problem, I don't know if this is a problem, but people, once they've established themselves here, they're earning so much, instead of doing something for here, they send it back to the Philippines.
That's a big deal, too.
There.
Yes,
but
that's a big deal.
On the one hand, it's a good point, because we're helping our home country, but then on on the other hand, it's not really good for us, for our community here. No?
That's right. For longevity-wise, case in point, we have Mark Polito, who's in the city of Cerritos. He's a school board member in the ABC Unified School Board, and he's running for city council in the city of Cerritos. And if you say Cerritos, even in the Philippines, people know that's a hotbed of where a lot of Filipino Americans live. Yeah, and we have yet to elect a Filipino American city council member there.
And so how do we do that? I think maybe we should first tell them what are the benefits of having a solid political infrastructure within the community.
It gives us a voice. It gives us a seat at the table, and it says, hey, you know what? The Filipino needs, the Filipino American needs will be met with a seat at the table. Mona Pascal, who is the former lieutenant governor, who is going to be the next appointment secretary in Governor Brown's administration, is such a great it's such a great story for the Filipino community.
And a good role model for our youth too. Yes, yes. So what do we do now? If we want to get more information, are you getting volunteers at FilVote? Are you doing trainings?
Yes, within the Asian Pacific American Leadership Project and the FilVote, which is the civic engagement portion where they're actively registering people to vote, that's where it is. If you're not registered to vote, register to vote. If you have thought about getting involved in a campaign, get involved in a campaign. Find somebody, read up on these guys on Google, on Wikipedia, some of these campaigns that are going on, get to the backgrounds, see if you have the same like-mindedness as these individuals, and get involved.
And then at the same time, you can also start small, start with the neighborhood councils. That also
appointed office as well. Getting appointed to a small commission, maybe a planning commission, something small in your neighborhood.
All right. Well, thank you so much for explaining this to us. Maybe we should do this more regularly just to remind our viewers about that. But for now, more power to you.
Thank you so much, Jenna.
Magbabalik po ang Kababayan LA. Let's talk vacation. When we return, don't go away.